Hi everybody, we are here for Eat Sport with Brandon Triche, former Syracuse player, now here in Trento for Aquila Basket. You're born and raised in Syracuse and you play for your own university. Was it your goal since you started playing ball as a kid in high school or something came up later?
Yeah, from Syracuse, played at Syracuse University. It wasn't actually a goal of mine. I didn't watch Syracuse basketball constantly until I started getting recruited, which was 8th grade, 9th grade year. I growing up, I liked, the Duke, North Carolina, just because they were always the best teams, always had the best players. And, right before I got to high school, one of my favorite teams was Connecticut. I wrote down a little paper, in 7th grade, about what would I be doing in 6 years, which would be my first year of college. And I said playing for UConn, which is University of Connecticut.
Back in the days with Jim Calhoun coaching.
Exactly. It was around the time when they had Okafor, I think Ben Gordon, a bunch of other guys, Rudy Gay maybe.
Rip Hamilton was already gone.
Yeah, he was Rip Hamilton was already gone. So they were like, I think they won the championship that year, '04. So they were one of my favorite teams. So I figured I'll play there. It's not until they started recruiting me, Syracuse, that I really started thinking about it and wanted to play in front of my family.
It was just because it was your hometown, born and raised there, or it had something to do with the prestige, the fact Jim Boeheim coaching?
It was a mixture of that. Playing in Syracuse, obviously a top 10 school, top 5 school to many. And then the biggest thing was just me playing home. I live maybe 5-7 minutes from the actual gym, so I wanted my family to see, every game, and they were able to do that, especially the home games. That was honestly the biggest reason why I chose Syracuse.
I thought it was quite unusual. Your other teammates back in the time maybe came up from all over the country, or you had some fellow buddy used to play in high school who was with you there?
My freshman year, actually, Andy Rollins, he played at Jamesville DeWitt High School, which is the same high school I played at, which is like 2 minutes outside of Syracuse.
He was the guy drafted by the Knicks?
Yeah. He was drafted, I believe, like 30, 39 or 40, 41 or something like that. He's like in and out of the NBA now. I think he's playing somewhere over here. But he was there, and he was one of to this day, he's my favorite teammate. Not just because we went to the same high school, but just because he was a really hard worker.
Playing for Syracuse, you have the feeling of being part of something special, unique. It's like the only team in college basketball who used to play zone defense for over 30 years, and I think it's quite peculiar. What do you think makes this kind of defense so effective today, and why nobody else used to do that for the whole game?
I think the 2-3 defense is so different for people. For those who play it, they usually play man-to-man. They play 2-3, 3-2. They do different mismatch defenses. But we patented it, and we got it down to a science. And the main thing for us is having size out there. If we got guys with long arms, I think last year we got me at 6'4", Mike Carter Williams at 6'6". We had 2 6'9" guys and another 6'11" in the middle. We could cover so much more area, than maybe playing a man-to-man. And I don't know why people don't use it as much, other than maybe I guess if you're losing.
Sometimes.
Yeah, Patino, he actually uses it, but it's more of a pressure defense.
Yeah.
He goes from a man-to-man press or a zone press right into and his is more of a matchup than actual 2-3. His is obviously effective. They create so many turnovers, but if we're really active, and also trap out of our zone, then I think it would be equally as good.
So you think basically this is based on the kind of athleticism you had on your team, not the kind of defense you should play with Nate Robinson at the point?
Exactly. We usually recruit bigger guards, kind of who cater to our defense, also who pretty good on offense as well. And playing in zone, you kind of can hide, I guess, one-on-one defense a little bit better. We might be a better zone team because we're not as good of a man-to-man team. When you have, big guys I think sometimes we have like Bai Musakeda, who probably can't guard a 6'6" guy on a wing one-on-one, but if we're in the zone, then he could be,
Big,
a distraction.
long arms, a big
Exactly.
wingspan, so.
Can block shots and actually get people to move. So I think it's very effective.
And this kind of defense is not used so much, just a few in the pro level like NBA. Do you think it's just a cultural fact, or it depends on the 3 seconds violation?
Yeah, the 3 second violation. I think they use some teams use it, and I think it's obviously have to be a matchup because they got to be near a player. But I think that's the main reason, because they can be in the lane for 3 seconds.
And switching from zone defense, like you play back in your NCAA day, come in here in Italy and play ball, you play a lot of man defense. Does playing all that zone back helps you in some way in one-on-one defense?
I think it hurts you, actually. I think maybe playing helps you a little bit on help defense, a little bit. But I think actually it's 2 different focuses. On when you're in the zone, it's more of a help. You know exactly what you're going to do. You're going to close out. It's basically a triangle. You're going to close out. You're going to get to the high post. You're going to get out to the wing for the shooter. Man-to-man is different things. You're playing off the ball. You got to see ball and man. It's a different focus. Even though we played it in practice, but actually getting game reps, it's a little bit different.
Jim Boeheim used to be a master of this kind of zone, and on Bleacher Report in 2012, they used to call Boeheim maybe the most influential coach in college basketball. What do you think makes him so unique, and what was the thing that impressed you most to his way of coaching?
About him, it's his, I want to say play calling, or design of a play out of a timeout. Every time we would design up a play out of a timeout, it worked. That's how I knew he was a great coach. Because it could be a 3-pointer, it could be a layup. He just knew exactly, the play that he needed, and then, 9 times out of 10 it worked.
A lot of focus on the ATO situation.
Exactly. For me, that's what I looked at. Because coaches can scream, they can get you to play hard, but he was able to do that. But it's more about play calling and actually subbing the right guys. That's why I kind of like playing for him. Because if you had it going, then he was gonna, he was gonna play you. If you didn't have it going, then he wasn't gonna play you. So, I thought he was a pretty fair coach for me.
And he also, I've been impressed most of the time when I watch Syracuse game. You see this man on the bench, he is always calm, keep it cool. You often see him yelling or changing facial expression during a game.
Nah,
seem very...
he's in those timeouts.
How about when you get back at the halftime?
Yeah,
and something went
halftime.
wrong in the first time.
At halftime, or even during timeouts, he can get after you. He'll curse you out and let you know that you're doing something wrong. But I think also, even in interviews, he's very funny. He says exactly what's on his mind. I think he's impactful in that way. Just because a lot of times he's honest, and he's actually one of the funniest guys, to interview or be around when he's being interviewed.
What are the biggest difference you've seen in coaching way right now from back in your college day?
Well, we don't play the zone, so it's a little different. It's not a lot different, because coach here, still get after, guys, and also always want to push guys. So, it's similar in that way. As far as the basketball goes, it's a lot similar than I thought it would be, as far as how we run our plays. But here is obviously a lot more intense.
In your last years in Syracuse, you had McNamara as an assistant coach, which, of course, everybody in Syracuse know what he did before on the court. What can you tell us about him? What kind of person he is?
He's a great person. Top to bottom. He's a guy who's willing to do anything for you. If you want to get up 4 a.m., he'll leave his house and shoot with you. So he's a phenomenal coach. Actually, the last 2 years, he became more of an assistant where in practice when we do individual breakdowns, he was just, solely with the guards. Before him and Mike Hopkins were, the two guys who work with the guards. Mike Hopkins now work with the big guys, McNamara with the guards, and it was great for us because we were able to do more individual stuff. A guy who we all seen play as guards, on the team, all seen McNamara play. You kind of can relate to him a little bit more, because he had the same coaching, and what we going through, he already been through it. So you kind of believe him more, and you buy into it a little bit more.
And did he tell you a lot about his victorious run in the NCAA tournament back in 2003?
I mean, especially playing defense and doing things like that, he always would, compare, and just talking about like the hard work that we need, and also comparing how we doing now to what they were doing. It kind of helped us, just saying like, oh, for instance, you guys stopped them, you guys a much better defensive team than we are. You guys were longer. You guys, it kind of gives you confidence, because if they won and we're doing better than them, then it kind of gives you the confidence that you can win also.
Because people most of the time just thinking about the shot he made, and maybe he was more focused with you about the intangibles, other stuff like defense.
Yeah, because a lot of times, defense can keep you in the game. A lot of times last year our offense was terrible. At one point we were probably shooting like 39% as a team, but we were still winning games just because our defense, kept guys from scoring, over 50 points. So it was kind of one or two plays at the end of the game that
Basically, it's just as long as you play great D, you always had a chance to get back in the game.
Exactly. I mean, we were not a run and gun shoot team, but we never spent 35 seconds. It was pass once or twice, you get your shot, shoot it. We missed. We shot a bunch of threes, even though we wasn't making any. So our main focus was on defense, and we obviously focus on offense and kind of the movement of it. But for him, it was defense.
Speaking of 35 shot clock, is it a big change when you came playing pro ball here in Europe, moving back from 35 to 24?
Nope. Just because we never really chose to use 35 seconds. We got the ball up the court, made about 3 or 4 passes, and then it was a shot. So here, I mean, it's similar, but since you only have 24 seconds, which really means maybe 18 or 17 when you get the ball over half court, the pressure is kind of on you because you only have 6 or 7 seconds left when you actually touch the ball, and you have to kind of get up a good shot with the time not on you in favor.
We can avoid talking about Michael Carter-Williams. We expect he's going to be good in the NBA, but me and maybe I think most of the people, not such a huge impact like kind of being rookie of the year as today. So
I mean, I thought he could be the rookie of the year, but I didn't think he would do as well as he's doing. Especially his first 3 games. I think was he player of the month? He was a player
of the month.
Was he the rookie of the month? I think he was a player
of the week, maybe.
Yeah, because the first 3 games, and I think the first game was against Miami.
First was huge.
It was huge. The first 3 games, he was averaging like 22 points.
Yeah.
Pretty much a triple-double. And I honestly thought those might have been his best 3 games of the whole season. Then he's being, consistent. I think he missed 5 games just from injury. But I knew he's a great defender. He's willing to compete on every play, which make him, a great player. But I mean, I think everybody's more surprised. But I think he had the best chance just because he was going into Philadelphia. Drew Holiday left, so he could mess up and not get in trouble. So I think that was the best way for him, to get better as a player and had the best chance of getting Rookie of the Year.
What kind of player do you expect he can become going on?
Similar to what he's doing now. Obviously, just being more consistent. A guy who can get, 19 to 20 points. I think he can average 10 assists depending on the team he's on. It's just a guy who's toying with triple-double every night, just because he's willing to compete every play and help his team as much as possible.
And he seemed like a guy who used to work a lot in the off-season, because watching him on the way he shoot now from threes, like he was back in Syracuse, I think he's making a big improvement.
Well, you can even say with the summer league, because summer league was terrible for him too. Shooting wise, even the preseason games, if you want to really count that. So he went from preseason, shooting not only 3-pointers, but as a field goal percentage wise, like 36%, I think, in preseason. Then 2 weeks later, played Miami, and
Did you watch
A
his
Star
first
is Born.
game against the Heat?
I didn't watch it, but I was able to. I mean, because Philadelphia, a lot of those games not gonna get televised in Italy.
Yeah.
But I was able to follow it. I followed it, and
What was your feeling when you're watching the ball score and you see it's almost a quadruple double,
yeah, I was like, I know he's capable of this.
but not so good?
Yeah, I mean, at Syracuse, a lot of times it was very close like that.
Yeah.
But first game of the season, and they won. That's
Yeah, and they play against the defending champion.
was worse than anything is they only were supposed to win 16 games, and they won their first 3 or 4 games. So you like, how does that happen? They only were supposed to win 16 games.
You still in contact with the guy?
Yeah. I talk to him all the time through social networks.
What was this feeling? Because everybody before the season start, I mean, most of the people who used to follow the NBA, they had the feeling like 76ers are one of the teams that's going to tank to get to Wiggins, Jabari Parker, all these new guys coming up in NCAA. And then they start playing. They won the first, they won the second, they won the third. They start winning game, and you watch Philadelphia games and you see it doesn't look like a team who want to tank and lose most game possible.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's surprised what Mike's doing. They're surprised what the team's doing. I mean, Spencer Hall is playing really well. I didn't know he was that good. They have, Evan Turner, who's playing well as well. So I think they're just willing to compete. They use it as motivation. I seen Mike said that in a few interviews. They use, people saying they was only going to win 16 games as a motivation. If you're only going to win 16 games, you have nothing to lose. You're just out there playing. And I think that's what they're doing. They just playing their type of basketball, and it's surprising people.
You can be the underdog every night, so.
Exactly. People not gonna expect you in any games. I mean, they equally as surprised as the Knicks being so bad right now. So.
And when it's time for the NCAA tournament, we've seen a lot of bond between NBA player and their former
teams in college. Yeah.
And is it the same for guys like you? When you go play in Europe, you always look out for your former teammate, what they're doing in the NBA, or
even now for me, I follow every game. I watch every game that they play. I haven't watched it, but I follow every game that they play so far. That's why, like, with them being second, I knew that just from being on ESPN every day. I check NCAA basketball, the scores, what people stats. Then the NBA, I do the same thing. Watch all their highlights. So. It's definitely, that's what I do. I just focus on things, and hopefully they get more games on TV so I can actually watch them. But if not, I'm still going to follow the games online.
What it would be like the typical day of a student player like you back in Syracuse?
Typical day, school obviously is the first thing you do. For us, we have practice at 4 p.m. So we will have, 1 or 2 classes during the day. Some guys, they get in earlier that day to get up shots, or maybe even to lift weights. But other than that, for us, it's different from, I think, a lot of programs. We weren't as strict, so we had practice at 4. You get there by 4, and you put in work for those 2 hours, and you're dismissed. You also have study table. Which is basically for guys who have a GPA under a 3.0, which is a B, I believe. Then you have to go to study table and actually get tutored for an extra hour or so. So I mean, that's a typical day. I mean, you have your social events, the parties, the concerts, things like that. But I mean, a typical day is school and basketball. I mean, everything else is pretty much extra. But
you mean school is quite important thing because you have to keep your grade to a certain level to still be on the team?
I mean, I think it's relatively important depending on who you are. I think some people take it more.
You mean there's a different treatment depending on the
player?
level of the player?
No.
No.
Because everyone, if your grade is your grade, and I think probably some programs find a way to hide it. Maybe if they fell or something like that. I don't know. But even for us, we had 2 instances where 2 of our top players just went down randomly. It's not even at the beginning of the semester or the end of the semester. It's just mid of the semester just went down. So and became ineligible. So I think I'm not sure if it's fair or I don't really look into it, but I think some people take their class and their grades more important than others.
Every year during college basketball season, we always had like a few programs who had some guys left out, those kind of stuff. So I remember like 2 years ago, you had Fab Melo, Brazilian guy, was left out right before the NCAA tournament start.
Exactly, and that was
what happened there.
And it was so random. It wasn't as random because after the end of the first semester, he was supposed to be ineligible, but I think he got it. I think something got pushed back, so he ended up losing 3 games. We ended up losing him for 3 games at the beginning of the semester, and he ended up coming back, and we all thought it was fine. All the teammates thought it was fine, and then the game right before the NCAA tournament we find out that he's ineligible.
It was kind of shock to me as just a viewer, because
everybody too is like, why? If we lost him maybe mid-semester, then we could have adjusted to not playing without him. And honestly, the first game we played without him, we lost. Notre Dame, being number 1 in the nation, we lost to Notre Dame first game, which was our first game of the season losing. And then we lost 1 with him during the Big East tournament and 1 without him. So he only lost 1 game. That's how impactful that he was, and it was a big loss for us.
There are many states in the United where NCAA basketball had more fans than NBA, which for us is quite unusual because everybody is following NBA, and you don't find a lot of people getting interested into college stuff. Why do you think there is a strong bond between people and university more than NBA team? I remember like in Memphis, just if you take off the last few years where they had a great team, you always see much more people and fans to the Tigers games than watch the Grizzlies. Why is that?
I think because they can connect with college students a little bit more. If you're a professional student, if you're a professional player, there's only 300. It's I think 400 players.
450
players. It's not that many. But college, you can. There's a whole lot more. And college players you can touch more than an NBA player. You'll see them around more. And a lot of times, people actually went to those schools. And now a lot of people can say, "Oh, I played for the Lakers," so I'm a fan of them. I played for the Lakers. A lot of people can say, "I went to USC or I went to UCLA," though. So I think that's the biggest thing. Also with the kids going. I think a lot of people think it's more competitive too. They think that college basketball is a lot more competitive than NBA until they actually get to the playoffs.
Last year, you had some great games during the NCAA tournament, especially what was considered your masterpiece against Indiana, which was the number 1 ranked team, and you basically shut them down playing defense. What were your memories about that game?
Yeah,
Did you expect
honestly, all those games leading up to it, people saying we can lose to Montana, we could lose to California, or you could lose to Indiana. And, for us, a lot of doubts came the last 5 games of the season, of regular season. I think we lost 4 out of 5. Then in the Big East, we won 4 in a row, then lost in the championship to Louisville, which kind of got a few people back on our side. But everybody thought we weren't as good of a team. But we actually found our stride while we were losing and during the Big East tournament, so we became a better team. Against Indiana, we knew that they had a few great players and they really only had one great shooter. We figured if we would shut him down and not give them confidence, then we could win games, and that's what we did. I think Hawes, I'm not sure if he scored. If he did, Jordan Hawes was the best shooter at the time. And he said that was the worst. That was kind of, our defense was the best defense that he's seen because he wasn't able to see the rim at all. So.
Yeah, and probably the most difficult kind of defense for a player like him. I mean, very small guy with
exactly. We were
a huge guy, long arms. So.
I mean, he probably thought we had 6 defenders. I mean, Victor Oladipo, he did pretty well. Cody Zeller had a bad game for them.
Yeah.
You know, so we were able to shut down a lot of people. We actually was able to shut down everybody that we came against, you know, except for Michigan, where we got to a slow start.
What was your favorite memories, speaking of NCAA tournament, and your big regret maybe?
The Final Four. The Final Four was the greatest memory. I mean, everything is heightened. Everything is just incredible. You know, everyone's supporting.
It's very different from playing other games inside the tournament.
Oh yeah, it's very different. I mean, you still have that type of that pressure and anxiety, but the Final Four is a whole different level. You got the media. I mean, you got your fans traveling wherever they are, but traveling to the city, which was in Atlanta. You got so many people, you know, hitting you up and wanting to talk to you and things like that. And when you go to an arena, you know, I'm playing right now. I'm not sure how much this fit, like maybe 2,000, if that. That arena fit 75,000. You know, so it's a football stadium. Yeah. You know, and it's way different. You know, and the biggest thing for me was just being with those guys and the way we got there. You know, after losing the games we lost, nobody thought we was gonna get there. And for the first time, we weren't letting anybody down. You know, for the first 3 years I was there, it was like, oh, Syracuse is gonna win it this year. They're gonna win it this year. And then the only year that they said that we're not gonna win was this year. I mean, last year, and the time that we had the best chance of actually winning.